A world where threats evolve faster than ever and every click can be a gateway to peril, staying informed and prepared can mean the difference between safety and a catastrophe. Welcome to Shieldcast, where we navigate the dark alleys of cyberspace and inform you of the latest news in cybersecurity. My name is George Ndongo, I will be your host, and alongside my co-host Kevin Mogo, we dissect notorious breaches and reveal hidden vulnerabilities. We bring you the cutting-edge tools and techniques that keep the digital world safe. Get ready for the raw, unfiltered insights from the front lines of cyber defense. This is Shieldcast, your insider's guide to the ever-evolving cybersecurity battlefield. Hello guys, we are back with the second part of this episode. Welcome to Shieldcast podcast. And on the previous episode, just to brush through the intro, we were talking about blue teaming tools. And as Kevin told us in the previous episode, blue teaming tools are focused on the defensive part. And he mentioned that there are other tools or teams such as the purple teaming and the red teaming. So today we continue with our focus on the blue teaming tools, and we didn't quite mention all of the tools that are in blue teaming. And before that, my name is George Ndongo, and I am your host here at Shieldcast Podcast. I am a software engineer. Welcome to Shieldcast.
Thank you very much. This is our second episode on the blue teaming tools. We're able to focus on the importances in the other episode and also touch on some examples of tools that are used and some general introduction on the same. So you can just review what we've done earlier on so that you can be able to connect everything together to what we'll be discussing today. My name is Kevin Mugo. I'm into cybersecurity. It's been a field that I've been passionate in for some years now. And what I would say is that, especially when it comes to the tools, there are a lot of dimensions to it. Yes, we're just moving at a very high level, but you'll find that for each, there's now the aspect of understanding the principles tied to it, and then now there's the practical implementation. So it's like a course on its own that will take a lot of time for you to master. And then another reason for it is that the fields are very dynamic. The top companies that develop these tools are always on the game. They're always on the guard, especially because of the security issues that come up. So there's also need for coming up with countermeasures, updating their software, and the rest. So it's usually an everyday learning point. You cannot be at the top of the game, but consistently as you learn, you'll not be able to miss out on the frequently occurring happenings.
So thank you. Quite good your point of view in terms of advice on how to maneuver the field. And I think you cannot know everything with regards to that.
Totally impossible.
You cannot know everything. So self-improvement day by day, you desire to be maybe 1% better than yesterday. And you'll climb up to maybe the helm of your career or your goals. So back to our topic today, blue teaming tools, and I'll start with security orchestration and automation and response tools. So not mentioned as frequent as maybe the previous tools we've mentioned, such as the SIEM or the SIEM, but a quite important tool or approach, because I think as the word suggests, it tries to improve the efficiency, and you find that SOC teams that implement the SOAR, I'd mention it as a requirement that every SOC team has to implement the SOAR, but you find that for those teams that implement it, there is efficiency in detection response.
So when it comes to the SOAR, so let's say you are a new startup, you're trying to develop your infrastructure that's already done. So you're getting into the implementation bit, like where the what you have made or what you have tried to connect in the system is now brought up live. So another important thing is for you to come up with is SOAR. So it's just by the name, we'll just go by what it means word by word. Orchestration. So when you talk about orchestration, we are trying to simulate. Okay, so we are trying to ask ourselves, when an attack happens, how will the system be able to handle it? That's how we are trying to orchestrate an attack. Okay, so we are trying to put the system into the test. Okay, and then another thing is automation.
Automation,
We
yeah.
have seen a lot of automation, especially when it comes to IDSs and IPSs. So another top level tool that is used for this process is the SOAR aspect. So we are trying to automate the processes that are tied along to the response to the attacks, or also preparation pre-attack that may happen. Because the same system that you are using for some time, you need to upgrade its security measures or policies. So by the end of the month, you should have some learning points, either from your organization or from a global perspective, that organization X was attacked because of 1, 2, 3. So if the same attack would have happened on my side, would I have survived? If not, now that's where the SOAR comes in for the upgrade of this purpose. And then there's the response. If an attack happens, just like an intrusion prevention system as an IPS does. So also plays a crucial role when it comes to joining these two. And then examples of tools that are used in this such a process, that's the Palo Alto Networks Cortex XO. And then the second one that I also love is the Splunk platform, and also the IBM Resilience. So these are tools that are provided by top tier organizations in the tech field: Palo Alto, Splunk, and IBM. So if not one, maybe all of them, you have all heard of them. And you can just feel a taste of how they work. There's also another one called Velociraptor. Yeah, it's a tool that yeah.
I've not heard of it.
Yeah, it's a very interesting tool. It's an all-rounded tool. The objectives tied along to the problem that it solves are very broad. There are those comprehensive but underrated security tools, so you can also check it out. Yeah.
So you mentioned IBM Resilient, and I think a company that is at the forefront, because the SOAR has a lot of implementation of artificial intelligence, and those are ML platforms that can do some tasks or automate a lot of tasks, and those large tasks are maybe removed from the security team, so that they can focus on the important aspects. So IBM, I think, is on the forefront, and having I think they are in the process of developing a cognitive cybersecurity model, and I think that takes the approach of a SOAR, in that a lot of the actions in the SOC or in the Security Operations Center will be automated. And I believe that is the future we are heading to, because as the breaches increase, we'll need to automate a lot of tasks. And as we automate, we need to automate with confidence. And so that is something maybe to read more about or research more about, the cognitive cybersecurity model. I think IBM and another company, I'm not sure, but I think IBM are at the forefront.
Yeah.
So at that point, for the SOAR, we are going to link it with the second tool we are going to talk about this episode, and that's the threat intelligence platform.
Yeah.
So threat intelligence is a whole new aspect of security, or the security of an organization, as far as the infrastructure is concerned.
Yeah.
So an organization may not be having a threat intelligence team on the side. It might be one team, or maybe other organizations may opt to go for the managed security service providers that are maybe external companies that provide security services for one company. But either way, either the direction, I think the threat intelligence platform or the threat intelligence in general is an important aspect. And let me shed some more light before you have a chance. You mentioned that we mentioned, I think, in the previous episode that some activities can be highlighted, or these things can be flagged. For example, as we said, maybe a login with a bad password or incorrect password, rather. So I think threat intelligence comes in here, and it works with the other, maybe the rest of the SOC team, and it is the work of the threat intelligence team to analyze and maybe give a specific IP address to this other team and tell them that this IP address is not trustworthy, such that maybe when this IP address is found in the system, then investigation can now begin from there. Maybe why did the threat intelligence team tell us that this IP address is not trustworthy?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when you talked about IPs,
Mm-hmm.
there's something we call blacklisting
Yeah.
and whitelisting.
Yeah.
I think a lot of IPs are blacklisted, especially in the Kenyan landscape,
Mm-hmm.
for unknown reasons. Like I've seen that encounter that you've been able to buy to host your website in from a hosting service provider, but you are given a blacklisted IP. So while you're trying to check it, but now when you're trying to confirm why is my IP blacklisted and I've not done anything malicious, they cannot be able to give that concrete answer. So you'll find that once your IP is blacklisted, some people don't work with blacklisted IPs, okay? Because their threat intelligence systems have told them if you try to open this IP, this website, so there are various layers that are involved. There is the website, and then the website relies on the IP so that it can be able to connect to the internet. So once this IP address has been noticed by this threat intelligence system, you'll not be able to access it. It will be blocked. So threat intelligence systems are pre-attack and post-attack tools. That is the pre-attack side. On the post-attack, it will now be able to notify you that on this day or at this time, this is what happened. So you'll be able to establish that workflow that the attacker used. And then out of this, you'll be able to now carry out some incident response and also some recovery. So threat intelligence is more of a double-sided tool, especially when it comes to the response and also the prevention. So these capabilities can be implemented by tools such as Threat Connect. There is anomaly with an I, not a Y. Anomalies is like for anything weird. And also there is the recorded future. So it works. It's always good that if you are trying to go with a threat intelligence tool, try to find one that you are maybe notified, if not on a weekly, on a monthly basis if it goes so far, especially because of the threats that are usually coming up on a frequent basis. So updates are very important.
Yeah. So I think, as we mentioned, some organizations might not be affording a separate team, and therefore we find that there are other resources maybe for hire that they can be implemented so as to maybe secure the digital data.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned recorded future. I think they do good amounts of research, and we have reposted some of them in our Shieldcast Shieldcast Twitter account. So yeah, be sure to check it out. So onto maybe some of the final, maybe last but not least, tools. We go to patch management tools.
Yeah.
So yeah, the patch management tools, and I believe patches are an important thing in security. Yeah, maybe let me define it simply as maybe an update or a program that maybe is added to a previous product to make it better.
Yeah.
And with what you're talking about today, it makes it better in terms of security features. And you might have come across companies telling you that a patch has been released, maybe given a number, maybe as a version, maybe a version 1.2 of the product with updated patches of maybe security features has been released. And therefore we have the patch management tools. They are raised the need for these tools to manage the patches, because we might want to revert back to version that maybe has not been compromised. Yeah.
Sure. So when you talk about now patch management, I love explaining it from a ball.
Yeah.
Let's say you're playing a ball, it gets punctured, so you take it to be repaired. So there is this patch, a small thing, just rubber based. So you just scrub it, place some gum, attach, let it dry, fix the ball back. It's the same way that patches work. So you've been able to find a system, it has this weakness, and this weakness has some effects. So through the use of patch management tools, you're able to cover everything up and everything will resume normally. So for these patches, there are two types. There is one that is happens on a frequent basis. They usually small files sent to patch. That's how they usually transferred. So if you install it, will be more of a module, but it comes in as a remedy for an existing vulnerability that has been found. The second version is something we call a cumulative patch. Some people also call it a cumulative update. So let's take an example of your Windows laptop. So for Windows laptop, maybe you've not connected it to the internet for like several months. So maybe when you connect it to the internet, you'll be notified there's a cumulative update for you for the past 6 months, because they usually do updates, let's say once or twice per month from my observation. But if you've not updated for a long time, you'll find that you will be able to come up, or you'll be sent a very huge file to patch everything up from the moment you did your last. So that's what patch management tools usually do. Yeah, they just try to minimize the attack surface area for the attacks that may come in. And then out of that, just through minimizing, you're also minimizing the risk that will also be there. Yeah.
So the SolarWinds patch management and the Ivanti patch management are good examples of the patch management tools.
Yeah.
And briefly, let's go to the security awareness training programs.
Yeah.
I believe this episode will be a little bit long, so let us kindly rush to do this. And as the word suggests, these are programs that are used to train maybe a SOC team. So with an example, maybe illustrate to us maybe with an example of the training programs, illustrate maybe the importance of this.
Yeah. So you have been called as a consultant to company X. Okay. And then this company X has a mixture of people. Some people have basic IT skills, others have intermediate, and others have advanced. Okay. So regardless of the level of education that you have in the tech field, it's important for your organization to be able to appreciate, implement, or bring forth the security awareness training, because even the person with the most knowledge when it comes to IT can also become an agent that is used to as a stepping stone to attack the system. So if maybe you are going for lunch and you do not lock your computers, just a basic thing will put you on the limelight, especially when it comes to attacks. So an example of a tool that I've been able to work with and provide trainings to organizations with is a tool called GoFish. Okay, so GoFish. In thinking the previous episodes, you're able to outline these attacks. You can maybe check them. One of them we said that was phishing. Phishing falls under a social engineering attack. So we talk about social engineering. It's playing around with your mind. So let's say you love football. So I can send you an email that Messi Foundation is giving out scholarships for cybersecurity. So you love football and you're seeing Messi Foundation. Wow, this is interesting. Then there's a link. When you click that link, malicious action 1, 2, 3 happens. So just by you clicking that link, you'll be able to fall prey. So if you go back to the drawing board, when it comes to this security awareness training, we train you so that when you receive an email that you've not subscribed to or from a party that you do not know, you'll not just click the links that come along with it anyhowly. So for this instance of GoFish that you're talking about, what happens is that I will set up fake emails, fake addresses, and target your employees. So once an employee clicks it, I'll be notified that Jane clicked the link and has fallen prey. So it now gives a summary that yes, you have been able to train, but this is how effective your training was. So it can also submit it as a report and tell the management your staff have been able to understand the training that you've been able to subject them to. Or also secondly, we can say that there's need for us to do more and more trainings, because a lot of them are falling prey to this strategy, but they're able to understand that this strategy might be a scam. Okay, and these links can a lot can happen. And one tool that maybe for education purposes that you can use There was one that has a bull. I think it's a Linux tool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to recall the name. It's one that even it goes to an extent that if you click a link, it can create a fake Facebook page, a fake Facebook landing page.
Mm-hmm.
You just enter your password. You say the password is not working. Why? So when by the time you think of forgot password and the rest, I've been able to get your original password. And yeah. So I think we'll try to attach that tool in the description. It also goes to an extent of launching your camera. You can also go to an extent of opening your files, extracting your files, anything you want. It has dozens of activities that would be able to do. But after you've been able to understand the attacks, after being able to understand the strategies, then you'll try to come up with the security measures, and through the trainings, and then be able to test these people in order to make their behavior online be a little bit good.
So that brings us to the human aspect of cybersecurity.
Sure.
And it has been research shows that the human is maybe without the humans, I think computers would have been more secure. But without the humans, maybe the work wouldn't have been done successfully.
Yeah.
So this brings us to the need of these training programs. Yeah. So with this, I think we'll head to maybe this brings us to the end of these tools, and we'll now have maybe to an opportunity to dive deep into an important topic, the deception tools in blue teaming.
Sure.
So yeah, so as the word suggests, deception tools. I think if you know your security infrastructure very well, it is maybe a crucial thing to do to set up maybe traps, so that maybe if an adversary comes and falls into these traps, you can now start having to examine their behavior and prepare yourself for to be future proof in terms of security. Yeah, so I think we're going to mention honeypots, and I believe prior to this episode, that is maybe one famous term maybe people have come across. It is one type of deception tools in blue teaming.
Yeah. So when you talk about deception, I think maybe you've watched some battlefield movies whereby if you are being followed by an attacker, there are traps that you lay either to catch, to delay, or even to finish off these attackers. So the same thing happens in cybersecurity, whereby we say we are a fintech organization, and we are usually prone to a lot of attacks. Maybe the main thing may be people trying to steal money, or if not stealing money, steal important or crucial data, for example, credit card records, M-Pesa pins, or the rest. But now, you're setting up a fake system, whereby in this fake system, it's more of a honeypot. So when you talk about a honeypot, just like the way, so just from the word honey, honey itself is sweet. So when you see honey, it's something that you are attracted to, and maybe you would want to taste or use. So honeypots, they mimic the real network service applications. So they usually, one property that people usually forget to outline is the fact that they are isolated. So it means that if I know that the system is sitting on some IP, in the internal network I am also isolating, maybe through a strategy we call subnetting. Okay, so when you talk about subnetting, it's now placing it on the side, but the original or the real-time operating systems, they are on another subnet or section of the network, or maybe even others advance it to something we call demilitarized zones. I think we'll be able to discuss them in our previous episodes. So once this separation is done, the attacker will become attracted and say, most probably, because of the data that is flowing in and out at a high pace, this is where the honey is. So progressively, this person will just target this honey pot, but will invest a lot of time in attacking it, but that was not the real deal. The real deal is on the other side. So as you're trying to attack it, this system stores logs of strategies, how these attackers were attacking the system. So it's upon you to not only use it as a defensive guard, but also as a learning point. How did he attack it? If he gained successful access, was he able to get the data? To what extent was he able to download or upload even attacks to it? How, what, when, how, and the rest. So these are the answers that can be provided by honeypots. So an example of them is one that we call Kipo. That is usually used for, it is an SSH honeypot that is used to log brute force attempt. So SSH is secure shell, that's what it means, and it's usually used to access systems remotely. So for example, we are here, we want to access a system in the US, so you can access it through SSH. The command usually SSH at, and then maybe the address for that system, then the port maybe, and then maybe the password, and able to access it. So an advancement of this one is now through the Cowrie that also adds the file transfer aspect. So able to see how files are being transferred between the systems. Maybe you can talk about honey-nets. Yeah.
So I think similarly to the honeypots, they are decoys. In real sense, as you mentioned, they're demilitarized networks. They are segregated away from the main network. So within a network, an intruder will be able to access the network, but with this segregation, they will have a decoy within the network. And for example, they may be able to obtain physical receipts, and as they progress with their processes, they are those steps that they are going to take with this with the process of going to maybe obtain these financial receipts for the company. So from here, I think the security operation teams is going to maybe study these processes, the step-by-step processes, and with this they may be able to learn, as you mentioned, and they may be able to use this as a stepping stone. If I believe.
Yeah. So these are honeypots, several honeypots that are all merged together to capture different dimensions of attacks and learning points. There's also honey tokens, whereby we set up an endpoint so that when you tap into it, you're able to access fake data, through APIs. So there's APIs. So APIs are application programming interfaces. So there's the front end, there's the API, and then there's the back end. So the front end is where you tell the system what you want. The API sends it to the database, which is the back end, whereby we say that, hey, this person wants 1, 2, 3 from the system. So these honey tokens, they usually relay those fake communications so that these false database entries provide bogus data. And one of the example of tools that is used is Canary tokens. I think maybe it's because it's a tool from Spain, because there's Canary Islands over there. So that's an example that offers these URLs. And also we'll be able to talk about deception grids and how they operate. So the endpoints, they deploy deceptive techniques directly on endpoints like the computers and servers. These tools can be able to mimic vulnerable software or systems and detect and then to respond to them, and also be able to give examples. For example, there's a Symantec. There's also Ativo networks that can also be used for the same purpose.
So almost to the end of this episode, and I think we're remaining with 2 sessions or sections. And so the next section, maybe let's brush through the best practices for blue teaming. When we talk about the best practices, I think we are emphasizing on the importance of implementing these tools and implementing them effectively. And with that, I think that's when we have the importance of this blue teaming or the best practices of or how to implement these blue teaming tools in the best way possible. Because I think implementation is not enough. You have to do all these factors we're going to talk about. And so let us maybe start. If you have nothing to add on that, let us start on the comprehensive threat intelligence.
So before you get into the comprehensiveness, there are various strategies you can be able to get these best practices. Number one is for you when you have your checklist in your company. what do I need to look for in these blue teaming tools, how will I find it, and the rest. So all of this can be summarized into a checklist. That's one of the best ways. The second way is to have policies. Policies can be time-based or maybe system-based, whereby when you say time-based, it's after every X amount of time, daily, weekly, monthly, I'll be monitoring the findings that we'll be able to extract out of the system. So there's the time-based, and then now there's the system-based. Through the policy, they will be able to say that no user should be able to access this system through this method because of 1, 2, 3, or you can only access it through this way because of this manner. So those are some of the strategies that can be used to ensure that we have best practices. But now we can now get into them, and I'm happy that you've asked about the comprehensive monitoring, whereby we say we are able to get information from different sources in the best time possible and in the most highest amount of detail that we can get, to ensure that we can have some precision in how maybe attacks would happen or how attacks have happened in the system. So they pick up threats, vulnerabilities, the attacks, and also they leverage on these intelligence feeds so that you can be able to identify the risks that are coming up and defend them accordingly. Yeah.
So, in addition to that aspect of comprehensive threat intelligence, let us link it with the continuous monitoring, because I believe monitoring is not a one-time thing. And as you said, let me attach that to time-based, the time-based aspect you mentioned. There are those guidelines that maybe a company can decide that we are going to have monitoring within this period of time. So monitoring has to be continuous. It's a day-to-day activity because you never know when the adversary will attack.
Sure. So continue on the aspect of continuous monitoring. It reflects or also narrows down to the tools that you have already discussed. For example, security information and event management systems. There's the endpoint detection, the EDRs. There's the IDSs, IPSs. There are also SOARs. There are also threat intelligence platforms. So all of these, when they are brought together, we are not saying that you need to implement all of them, but you can maybe go for one, or maybe find a synchronizing pattern between these tools, and then from there you can be able to merge them all together. So continuous monitoring involves also the use of different tools so that you can be able to find some harmony in the data that you're collecting and be able to extract intelligence out of it.
I completely agree with you with that. These tools complement each other. So it's not necessary for you to implement all of them. And you may focus on a few so long as they get the job done. And let's go to the next one, which is proactive threat hunting. And you find that some companies put their websites to the public, maybe through other hunting platforms, and in this act you go direct to hunt for these bugs, and that's why it's called proactive, because you hunt for the bugs yourself. And some companies hunt for the bugs themselves, and some companies put on bounties. And that is the aspect of bug bounties. It comes in there. It puts the bounties are given maybe an amount of money, and the public, the general public, or the security researchers can now come into this company and try to find these vulnerabilities. And when you report to the company, they give you this amount of money.
So that's a good one that you brought about bug bounties. And to add on top of it, if you're not going the bug bounty way, you can use data analytics, behavioral analysis, and also threat hunting techniques to identify the hidden threats, that may evade automated detection. And also through this proactive threat hunting, you can be able to identify advanced persistent threats, which we are live talking about. These are attacks that have been on the maybe neutral or maybe unseen in the systems that are being secured. So you can try to maybe identify them with time so that you can be able to find ways of mitigating them, because they are somehow hidden. In this field, things might not be as straightforward, maybe through the course that you maybe have been subjected to. It requires a lot of understanding, critical thinking, application, and especially on critical thinking, it's very important so that you can be able to translate whatever you are finding into insights that will be able to secure it. Because also, as you're trying to secure, you'll find that even more mess is coming up.
Yeah.
You might have had that good heart to secure, but maybe since you did not do a comprehensive research, the security measure trying to put in place might even land you into more trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, so with that, you have to maybe do regular security assessment.
Yes.
And that brings us to our other important factor in blue teaming. So before that, let me talk about incident response and planning. I believe if you have something to mention in the regular security assessment, you'll come in. So let me mention something about incident response and planning. So we've mentioned this in a previous episode. I don't remember the number, but it was audio. You can tune in that in Spotify. And we mentioned that it is quite a broad topic, the incident response and planning. We have the detection, we have the responses. It's a broad topic, and maybe one day we'll maybe set aside an episode to talk specifically on this. So incident response and planning, it's where you maybe do I think the aspect of the checklist may come in even here. And here you set the roles. Maybe when this incident comes, at this stage of the incident, what do we do? Who to contact? We have the alternative contacts for the stakeholders or the shareholders, or you have every contact and alternative contacts. And this kind of sets the guidelines, or helps the organization to continue with the business operations even amidst the a security attack. Yeah.
Yes.
So with that, let's just go to the collaboration and information sharing.
Yeah.
So with this, before we mention something, I think it has been an emphasis in this episode that these tools are comprehensive, are complementary. Sorry. So, and in the previous part of this episode, we mentioned that some organizations have the facilities and the resources to set up a complete security operations center. Some do not. So this is where the aspect of collaboration and information sharing comes in.
Yes.
In an example where we mentioned that there is the threat intelligence platform. So this threat intelligence platform has to share its findings or its research with the other part of the security operations center or the security team.
Yeah. So another aspect to this is the fact that if you're working in a branch of company A, I mean the second branch of the second company A. So we can be carrying out frequent meetings to see what attacks were sent to you, what attacks did I receive, do I have the best practices to stand against the attacks you received, and also the same on the other side. Another thing that is usually there is what measures have you put? Which software do you use? Which software do I use? Why did you pick that software? Which software is better and which software is not that well performing? So it will call for some aspect of change, and through that change, there is improvement in security. So it's always good to open up the strategies that you've been able to put, but also as you're trying to open up, try to not forget about the privacy that you're trying to maintain because of maybe the agreements such as NDAs, that's the non-disclosure agreements, but also it's more of some diagnosis to the system, because there are some illnesses that it's not until they start hurting you that you're able to realize that they came to you. So in advance, collaboration is also important.
And I think some of this information can be maybe found publicly in some platforms, like, for example, CrowdStrike. I think a security operation, or as let me call it a security team, can go maybe find a company of a similar niche. Maybe we are a finance company or a fintech. So go find a fintech company and find the vulnerabilities that they have found, and find the attackers that are interested in them, and from there try to learn from there. And with that, you are going to maybe improve the posture of your security infra. So So, as we mentioned, in this section, maybe a word from our sponsors from Kevin
Yeah.
before we proceed to the challenges in these blue teaming tools.
Yeah, so far we've been able to dissect most, but not all, of the items that need to be understood in this process. Yeah, so before we move to the next part, which was the challenges, this podcast was brought to you by the Coding and Car community, a tech group that focuses on all people all rounded around the world. We have people all over the world who join in so that they can be able to exchange ideas, learn, and also network. So if maybe you'd like to join in and receive the benefits that come along with the coding community, feel free to join through the description that will be added to the link to this podcast. There are also the Fundings Entertainment that provides training to the kids. So your son or daughter has been able to finish homework in 15 minutes. So the next 6 hours before he sleeps, he's just watching movies, Cocomelon, Nickelodeon. So why don't you bring him to us or her to us so that she can be able to gain a tech skill, not really for like 3 hours, just 30 minutes, 1 hour in an evening, or maybe during the Saturdays, you know. So you're able to interact with and build skills, and it's in a fun learning way because it's a very fun way to learn. We use toys, we use songs and the rest, but by the time this child knows that I was learning to code, he or she has already finished the curriculum. Yeah.
And I believe STEM courses are on the rise. So
Very much.
surely check out. We'll put the links in the description.
Yeah, I also saw CBC students are learning about the types of networks. Remember the topologies. It's a very interesting thing that tech is being brought down to even that grade 7 or grade 8 child. So it's a good thing. It's a good to adapt these STEM technologies to children.
Yeah. It's quite interesting because I think we both did that in our high school. I think in our third year of high school, if I'm not wrong.
It's a privilege. I first met a network cable in campus. But all in all, we're all learning. Yeah.
I think these are what we call the outliers. But anyway, we go to the challenges in blue teaming tools. We find as much as we might shed a light on the success of these tools in improving the security posture of organization, there are challenges that come along with them.
Very true.
And I'd love us to maybe go through this faster because I believe this episode is becoming quite long.
Yeah.
And so I believe a skill gap is quite challenging in very many aspects and in very many fields, not just blue teaming tools. But on this section, we're going to focus on its challenges in blue teaming tools.
Yeah, sure. I think when it comes to the challenges, if you are asked to give the top 3, I would not be very wise on that. Top 5, I would not be very wise. Top 10, I would not still be very wise because all of these challenges are at a high level. You cannot say this is a major challenge, this is a minor challenge, because that challenge that you'd consider minor would lead to the closing down of your company if you did not know. So it's always good to study these challenges so that you can see, yes, do we have this challenge in our organization? Yes. If not, we move to the next one. And the first one that we talked about is the skill gap. The skill gap does not come around because there is not an adequate people in Earth.
Yeah.
We are all very many. But finding someone
9
who
billion
would...
also. We are 9 billion.
9.
Okay, 8.
Okay, we'll confirm after this. But whatever the number is, it is not a lot of people that would be patient enough to read between the lines and be able to take time to master the craft, to gain the skill, the expertise, or the many years of experience that are needed to protect systems. So skill gap is a very important, is a very huge challenge because let's just be honest. You have purchased a course, you have received a scholarship or some, what do you call, coupon codes to courses. How many courses have you finished? You know, so that's also another thing that, yes, we know these things, but you're not patient enough to like go and finish our studies, you know, because for various reasons here and there. But it's always important for us to be patient with ourselves and know that we are working to build our skills and also to improve the security of the world.
So just as you mentioned, there is that complexity, and let us attach that to that point of complexity in IT environments. There are many people in this world, but not many of us are ready to put that foot forward and learn and put the time in and the hours in to learn. Because, truth be told, these IT systems are complex. And that's why you find some organization, especially the SMEs and the startups, trying to go and get some external organization to do or did their security for them. So I believe we're not going to focus on the complexity of IT environments that much, since it's kind of attached to the skill gap.
And also just to add on it, that for the aspect of complexity, you will find that there are some words you'd hear in cybersecurity you run very fast.
That's why you find these introductory courses giving just introduction to these words, because they are they are deal killer for many people.
And also another challenge is the people who are taking us through these courses. You'll find that yes, this person has the knowledge, but how does he relay? Does he relay in a way that it will encourage you to finish the course, or you just drop it immediately because he delivers it to you in a very complex way? That's also another challenge I've been able to see.
So I think that is referred to as the curse of knowledge, where those people who are well knowledgeable or skilled in a particular field are not able to relay the information to the amateurs very well. And maybe as an instructor, because as we are instructor in the fundlings, that is quite an important aspect on how to relay the information perfectly to those who are amateurs or beginners in a particular field. So resource constraints and rapid evolving threat landscape is we are going to focus on those two next. So let me just mention the rapidly evolving threat landscape. You mentioned in the first part of this episode that cybersecurity is quite a dynamic field, and you have to learn every day, and you have to keep learning. So if you're not ready to commit to this, it's quite a challenge in these blue teaming tools, because today you have SNOT, tomorrow you have another tool, and this tool you're being told it is maybe more efficient in this, and your company is pushing you to learn this new tool.
I think there is a common word in the marketing field that we have a new arrival. So today there is this, tomorrow there is that. So you're wondering, do I need to finish this study process and then move to the next one? So you are torn between studying and still trying to maintain your job. There are people by the way who are under pressure because they have been able to gain a lot, but yet in that studying process, I think we've all been able to study and find that the more deeper you go into a course, the more questions arise. You know, that's how the study process is also in cybersecurity. The more you go into it, the more you'll find that there are 10 ways, there are 100 ways. So you're torn. Do I need to go with this way? Do I need, which is the most common? Which one is weak? You know. So, and also if you don't have someone who is has maybe more experience than you, so that you can be able to answer the questions. So you'll invest a lot of time in studying what you'll never apply. So some people call it useless knowledge. You spent a lot of time, but it's not paying off. I think that's also another challenge that you've seen people in the domain suffering a lot.
But I think in the long term, that is what makes you maybe turn from a junior to intermediate and to senior. In the long term, I think it's more like a hump. You learn, and then when you're there at the top, it's kind of difficult to maintain. But when you're there at the top, it kind of starts adding up and paying off. So with what I mentioned before that, I do not want us to proceed without mentioning it, is the resource constraint. And you may hear the word resource, and the word that comes to mind is the funds. But also the human labor is quite an important factor. Because as much as you might want a team, a security team, you don't want the numbers, you want qualified individuals who you can trust to run the security of your organization.
It's better to work with one who is skilled than 100 who are unskilled, you know. That's how it is. And because of that, it brings about another challenge, which is the alert fatigue. So there's something we call false negatives and false positives. So this EDR notifies you that there are broken registries, there is an attack in progress, but when you come to check it out, it's an update that was happening.
Yeah.
You're wondering, will I be coming and checking the 100 computers in my systems because of the update that was happening? Because if it's an update, this one has its way of initializing its own update, the other one the other way. So those false positives and false negatives make you to become reluctant and ignorant. So out of that ignorance, now that's when the attacker finds an opportunity. So in between those notifications, that's where the attacker leverages on. So you'll be notified, but you did not read between the lines. It's also another challenge that we've been able to see.
And
the
this
alert
with-
fatigue.
Yeah. I think with this, maybe unskilled, maybe professionals or just the normal professionals, there may be the rise of insider threats, which
Very
I think can be both intentional and unintentional.
Yeah.
So insider threats doesn't only mean maybe someone planted there inside to intentionally leak data. It can be unintentional. And that is why we are emphasizing on the aspect of training these individuals to be
Very
aware.
much, yeah. And also we talked about the change. One incident that I've been able to encounter, I'll not mention the company. This person in the IT team knew the A to Z of this fintech company. So out of knowing it, he decided to buy some remote cloud solution so that he can be able to attack and steal money. The theft was successful, but now if it were not for his details being in that remote server that person XYZ bought this server at this time and used it to do that, he would have not been caught because he understood the system. So also ethics is another huge challenge, that that you have a lot in your hand. If you decided to hide or to masquerade yourself through the systems, you may not be caught, but through ethics, which is another challenge that people do have, you'll find that people are not able to maintain that kind of trust, that you are the one we leave this system with, you are the one to manage it. So do not manipulate it in any way, or maybe manipulate others, sell confidential data, or carry out these kinds of activities. So that's also another challenge I've been able to personally encounter. Yeah.
So with that, I think that party risk, and we mentioned that some organizations, even the big organizations, might be depending on other organizations, even if it's not for the whole security, for some aspects of maybe authentication. Yeah. And I believe we have an episode that is focused on Okta and the breach that happened on Okta. And I believe when Okta was breached, because it was breached twice, some other organizations were compromised because Okta was responsible for some of their security procedures. So lastly, I think these 2 points are going to be our last points in this episode, and that is compliance. And we have mentioned compliance, but we're going to mention it as a challenge. And lastly, we're going to talk about the communication and collaboration. So maybe take us through the compliance very fast.
I think we've talked about the collaboration bit. Let's just focus on compliance as we close up. So I will not handle it from the security side, but I'll connect it from the business side. For you to start a business, for example, in Kenya, there are dozens of compliances. So if you decide, we are currently in Nairobi, want to set up an industry for manufacturing glass. Okay, so you need to go through health, you need to go through environment compliance, you need to go through tax compliance, you need also to maybe go through environmental and many others.
Health,
so by the time you finish your 36 compliances, all the money has you see. So the same happens in cybersecurity. So you have compliance A, B, C, D. So as you're trying to comply for one, you are breaching another compliance standard, so that you can be able to make your report fit in to what those standards want. So it's like a back and forth. And you find that you've fought, you have given it your 100%, but still they're telling you you have done nothing over here.
And I think it was Uber which went to market with, it ignored some of the guidelines that were set.
Ignorance,
because I think the regulators were hindering them from maybe starting their business. And as you mentioned, you try to comply to one, and then you find you're breaching another one.
Very much.
And so maybe on to the last point, which is communication and collaboration, which can be maybe a hindrance.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that maybe when HR receives maybe malicious email, what are the steps are they going to take? Or what is she going to do next? He or she going to do next? Is she going to email? Is she going to maybe visit the security operations center?
True.
And these communications maybe sometimes is a hindrance to implementing these blue teaming tools effectively.
Sure. Let's talk from the Kenyan landscape.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of challenges in workflows. When you talk about workflow, you have found a threat.
Yeah.
Okay. So I send this message to person A. Person A sends it to person B for the next action. But person B procrastinates handling it, does not see the message, or something else happens, or maybe does some professional work. So you see, in that communication and collaboration process, the attack is even given more playground time so that it can blast everything together. Yes, it was noted, but who did it? Who did not play his role? So you'll find that there are excuses back and forth here and there, and that's how things somehow mess up. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that sums up our blue teaming tools episode, and it has been quite comprehensive and quite long. Yeah. But anyway, Kevin sums up this blue teaming tools episode, and this brings us to the end of our episode. So this has been Shieldcast Podcast. My name is George Ndongo. I have been your host, and we look forward to communicating with you. So as always, hit our email and follow us on Twitter if you want to communicate and connect with the Shieldcast community. All the links to the Coding and Kahawa and the Phalanx Entertainment are linked there. Yeah. Tag us along, and we'll try and respond immediately. Hit our messages if you want to be on the show or want to collaborate with us in any way.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, thank you. I think this is one of the episodes we do about 3, 4, 5, 6, just the same topic. It's a very interesting one, and I'm happy that you've been able to watch us up to this point, and we'll provide more content later on in the near future. It's been nice, and we're very thankful. Like, subscribe, and share. Goodbye for now.